Hello everyone, this is our third video on Fusion 360, and in this video we're going to look at other tools that are available for creating solid objects under Create, under Design. Last time we have seen Extrude, Revolve, Sweep, Loft, and the corresponding cut versions, as well as this box all the way to Pipe. So now we're going to look at Web, Emboss, hole, thread, pattern, mirror, thicken, and so on. Okay, so let's get started with one of the interesting ones, that is web. So web is basically creating extrusions from an open profile and then connecting it to the remaining surfaces. And for instance, let's say here is a 3D print that you want to make, and these are the shells. So you have several layers of print. These are the shells, and now you want to create basically the infill pattern, and the infill is very simple, like this, rectangular. And so here the sketch that you made is basically this. It's not a closed profile that corresponds to the infill pattern. It's just a bunch of lines. Can I use these lines and create the infill pattern inside of this object? The answer is yes, we can. Well, how would you do it? So here I go click on the web, and then I click on all of these entities that are involved in this profile, right? This infill profile or pattern. So I pick all of these lines. And then what? Here, I give it the thickness for these. So let's say it's a 0.4 nozzle, and I go with some percentage of infill. So let's say 2 mil, so like 5 layers for infill. And then instead of up to next, I use a distance that this is the distance inside the part that they go. And you see the direction right now is outward. I want it to be inward, so I click on this. So now it is upward. And the next option does not has a meaning here, because these lines are already attached to the walls. If they are not attached to the walls, then that next will allow them to connect. But here, that's good. And for the depth of this, let's say 40 mils. Okay. And there we go. Look here. This is the infill pattern just by a bunch of lines. So you see that is a quite bit powerful command. Now, rip is typically used as a connection between two walls to act like a stiffener or reinforcement. Okay, so you can have different profiles, and the profile again can be a simple open sketch. It does not need to be a closed sketch. And if it's connecting the two walls together, that's all you need to do. So let's say, for instance, here, I go to the construct offset plane, and then I want to create an offset from this plane, or I can go on that plane, it doesn't matter. But let's just make an offset plane from that and give it like 10 mil, but inside, not outside. Okay, and then on this new plane, I go and create a sketch, and this sketch is simply a triangle, right? So, but I don't need to draw the whole triangle for a stiffener. All I need is to draw a line which shows the diagonal of it, or the hypotenuse. The other ones are these two edges, right? So here I grab this, and then I would basically extend it here, sorry. I would extend it to this line. Let's see if I can do that. And it might not work as you expected, and the reason is this line is not a part of this sketch. But one other thing you can do is to pick that point and pick this line here. Let's see. This line and that point, and force them to be coincident. Okay, and a similar thing on this side. There we go. The profile is there. And now I go ahead and click on the rip command with this profile selected. There we go. how much is the thickness, and I say, let's say 3 mils. And look here, it is extended to the other side instead of this side, and it's kind of doing the complementary rib instead of the small rib. So is there any way to fix it? The answer is these other options are about the draft and where to start the thickness and whether it's on one side or two. So none of them will help other than this one, extend type. So to next will automatically, based on direction, goes to those. So instead I choose a distance, and in the distance, let's say if I say 5 mil, you see here now you have a secondary direction for the distance, and I can reverse this. You see that? So now that I made it negative, can I say up to next? No. You see, it goes back to what it was. But now if I just make this big enough, like 15 or so, negative, that it goes into those walls, that should be enough to give me that rib or the stiffener that I needed. Okay. The other things you have is, of course, you have Emboss. And this is really good when you have a sketch and you want that sketch to create a raise or a recess. So it can be deboss on a curved surface instead of what? Instead of a flat surface. Because on a flat surface, as I showed you, you can click on the sketch and on the plane and then draw something, right? So here, let's say I draw a line, and then of course I convert the line to a construction element. Okay, so I convert it to construction element, and then on this one I can create a text on this. Okay, let me use the text command again, and I can write whatever you want. So I can write Fusion, okay, and make it bold font. Okay, and if I get out, now I should be able to extrude this one. Okay, so if I pick this sketch and give it some depth like that, look, you see, and it's joined the previous one, so they become one object. As you can see, there is only one body here, but this is that extrusion of that. So that's not really what emboss and deboss can do, because doing on flat surfaces is easy. That's what it is about on making it on curved surfaces, that you cannot create the sketch on a curved surface. Okay, so let's say you want to repeat the same thing but on a cylinder instead of this flat surface. Can you do it? Let's find out. So here we go and create a cylinder, and let's say we go with this plane here. Seems like I picked the wrong plane. Here, let's say this is good place, this one, and so I make it 60, and I make this also 80, right? So can I do that fusion on this one? Okay, so for that, look, the first thing is the sketch profile and then the face on which you want to create the emboss or deboss. So first you have to create a plane, you have to write the sketch on it, and then project it onto the surface. To do that, here I pick an offset plane, which is with respect to this YZ plane, and instead of distance, let's say to object, and can I pick this? It doesn't let me. So I want a plane that is parallel to the right plane but tangent to this curve, and that is not what you want. Here you have a tangent plane. So I pick this surface, it gives me a tangent plane, and the reference plane here can be this plane. Perfect. This is what I want. Now on this guy, I would create a sketch. And again, let's say here, go from here to there. And then I convert it to a construction element like that. And I'm going to write a text on it, which is on this one. And I write the same thing, Fusion. And it's bold font already. Good. Get out. Now can I project it on this and create emboss or deboss? So this is where I go to emboss. What is the sketch profile? This one. What is the face? This one. And now what do you want to do? Okay, this is emboss, this is deboss. Let's say I want to do a deboss, 2 mil in, and there we go. Look here. You see, now I made a deboss. I made a cut through the object 2 mil deep. So this is emboss and deboss. The next command is hole, which you can also find here, and there is a keyboard shortcut for it, H. By the way, let me tell you something. You see there is a 3 dots next to these commands, and this 3 dot, if you click on it, you can create or change the keyboard shortcut for it. For instance, for emboss, there is no keyboard shortcut. But if you click here and click there, this allows you to pick a key for the emboss. The problem is if you use the first letter, which is E, that E will overwrite the E that you have for extrude. So you need to make sure if you pick something that doesn't overwrite another shortcut for another command. Okay, so maybe for this one, I don't know, pick something else, pick maybe Alt, or I don't know, something that is not a shortcut that is used in Fusion. Okay, otherwise just go ahead and click on it. So now you can place it at a single point or from a sketch at several points. So in this case, let's just put it at a single point. On which face? I say on this face. And then here, if you look here, I can basically change the size of it, right? So let's say I want the size of this guy to be and the depth of this. So let's say, and there are different types of holes. There is a simple drill hole, counterbore, countersunk, a simple, a clearance hole, a tapered with an angle, flat, and angle with a drill point. So let's say in this case a simple one with a drill point at the end, not flat. And the depth of this I want it to be, let's say, 30. The end angle of drill bits are typically 118. You might not want to change that. And the diameter of this, let's say 16. Okay. And if I OK that, you see clearly that the hole is made here, and that is that conic section. And the question is, where did it put it? Because I did not specify the location of that. So can I provide the location? And the answer is, well, let's see here. If you look at these different sketches, it does not have a separate sketch for this, right? So there is this body, all of these sketches. This last sketch is for that fusion, and there is no sketch separately created for that. So if you want to modify it, you have to go back to the whole command. You have to right click and go back to edit feature and see if there was an option or there is any way that you can do it. And the only thing that you have not used was this reference 1 and reference 2 here, right? Or if you click on the center, right, you see I can move it around, so I can put it at the center of the profile, or I can put it there. And can I use a dimension D here? Of course not with a simple D. So what is it that I can exactly do if it's not at the center of the profile? Well, look here, this one is just responsible for dimensions. When you grab the center, that is responsible for placement. But as I showed you, it does not really show a dimension here. And so if you want to fully define it, you have to have some references. And you see right now when I put my cursor somewhere, it says select linear or circular reference edges to fully define the whole location. So you need edges, not planes, for these references. So if I pick this edge, the circular edge, the reference will be the center. So it's going to exactly put it at the center. Or if I had two edges here, right? So this hole was made on a rectangular plate. I could pick the edges of that rectangular plate, and that will allow me to provide two distances. If I just pick a circular edge, then it is going to be the center of that. There we go. So that's the hole, and now it is perfectly positioned in the center. But as I said, if you did it here, let's say I did the hole command here, and let's make it very small in this case. So maybe just 2 mil by 3 mil, something very small. Okay, a small hole. And then you see here, can I provide edges? There we go. You see, now I say 10 mil from this edge. And then for the other reference, I can pick the other edge. And now let's say 20 from this one. And there we go. Right? So now I can provide dimensions, and those are my references. So that is creating what? A simple hole. And of course, next you can go and create a thread in it if you want, or you could have done the thread directly in the hole command. So let's say I use the thread. This is for existing holes that have not been threaded by you or somebody. So I say I want to thread this face, and then full length, right? Or I want to only thread so much of it. And then what kind of thread is it? So I go to ANSI metric, and you see size is 16, so it's going to be M16. And then by what pitch? Let's say by 2 mil. And this is the tolerance class, and the direction of the thread is right-handed, and whether it's modeled or not. So if you say modeled, look, you're going to get the actual threads, the cuts, okay? But if you look here, if you don't say modeled, then you're going to get it something like this. So it's more of, as you can see, it's a graphic effect. It's not the real physical cut, as you can see, right? It's not a real physical cut. So if you really want to see it, of course, it needs more graphics, but here, now you really can see the ups and downs and the cut. So that is what that is, creating a thread that could be full length, a portion of the length, and anywhere for that matter. Okay, now let's move on to the remaining tools. So we have patterns and mirror. This thicken and boundary fill, they are used along with surfaces. So we'll keep them for another video where we talk about surfaces and how to make surfaces. Then we'll come back and use these. So the last two commands we're going to look at are pattern and mirror is quite a bit easy to understand, right? So let's say I pick this whole body and the mirror surface, let's say with respect to this surface, and there we go. We can join it, or we can create a separate body if we want. If you don't want them to become a single body, we can say, hey, make a new body out of that, or let's say join them and make them a single body right now, and that's what you have. So this is that, and then we have pattern. Of course, this is rectangular pattern, but if you go underneath, under pattern, you have rectangular, you have circular, you have pattern, that the object follows a specific guide basically, and you can have a geometric pattern that you can have size and distribution gradients on a surface. So let's say if you have a feature or a hole or something, the holes do not all need to be the same size if they follow a circular pattern or rectangular, and you can vary the size as well, which makes it quite a bit strong. So let's say, for instance, for now, let's just do a rectangular pattern, but first we have to have something to do a pattern of. And for that, let's say I go on this surface and I create a sketch. And that sketch is going to be something like a single circle, right? Something like this. And I get out, and of course, I'm going to extrude it with E and give it some dimension, let's say 10. Okay, so here you can see this part is made, but it is added to the rest of it. So can I pick now that single thing and pattern it? So if I go to pattern rectangular and it says what object. You see, it allows me to pick that. So although it joined the rest of the big object, but still I can select that individual feature and I can do a pattern. So it says object type is face, or it could be features or anything. So let's pick a feature and we go with that feature. And then we need an axis, right? So here, let's say I want the axis to be on the, let's see if I can pick this as the axis. There we go. That's axis number 1 in that direction. I want it to be at the distance of 10 mil from each other, right? And I want a bunch of that. Now here, pay attention to the distance. Is it extent or is it the spacing? If you say extent, then that 10 mil is the total distance between the first one and the last one. But if you say spacing, then that's the distance between each one and the next one, which is in this case what you probably want. If you want to jump from one of these ribs to the next one, then you probably need the spacing of 10. So let's say I add 2 more of that here, 8. And then I can go for an axis 2. And for axis 2 also, I can provide some distance. So let's say again 10 mil. And let's see here. You see, when the axis 2 is automatically perpendicular to axis 1. And as I make more and more instances or quantities, it goes all the way to the bottom of the part. And let's OK that now. There we go. You see, so the rectangular pattern is made, and circular pattern is very similar. So it's just you have to have an axis of symmetry. And as I said, you can have a pattern, or you can have a what? You can have a this pattern here, which is called geometric pattern. And one last thing that I need to mention is for geometric pattern, not only you need a face, but you also need to have a solid body to be repeated, okay? It's not like a cut or something. It has to be a separate solid body to be able to repeat it and on a face, and then you can change the distribution of that feature. So you can put more in some regions or less, and you can have different kind of patterns like circular, polygon, square, and so on and so forth. So hopefully this video was useful to you and you learned the complementary tools, including rib, web, emboss, hole, thread, pattern, and mirror. And I'm gonna see you in the next lecture. Thank you.